Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Monday night's edition of Not Another Rangers podcast. It's the end of the Russell Martin era, if you can call it an era. Would it be called an era after 120 days or so? It's Russell Martin disappointment, the Russell Martin experiment, the Russell Martin disaster, whatever way you want to call it. It ended yesterday at 9:30, and a statement was released saying that they'd agreed. Well, he's no longer manager of the club. I don't even think it was a mutual agreement. It was literally he's no longer the manager of our club. Further updates will come in due course. So there's been lots going on over the last 24 hours, which we will discuss, dissect, and pick up upon. But I think as much as anything else, it's the starting again. We're hopefully going to go down the right path once for the first time in many years. Unfortunately, Scott is not with us this evening. It's his birthday. So after months upon months, weeks upon weeks, but I'm saying he wanted rid of Russell Martin, on the day that after it happens, he's down in Manchester celebrating his birthday. And for anybody that's asking, it's not his 70th birthday, it's just a run-of-the-mill random birthday. So he's away heavy metal moshing somewhere. He told me and Ricky at the band that he was going to see. It means nothing to either of us, but I'm sure he'll enjoy himself for there. And Ricky, you had a huge smile on your face last night, not least because you were returning home from working away, but mainly because Russell Martin had finally been sacked.
Yeah, I was sitting at the airport, mate. I had a 5-hour stopover in Bahrain, so our group chat was on fire. But then it was that horrible bit where it was like he's been sacked. Maybe like Sky, I think Sky came out with something like Russell Martin's job is in doubt, and it was like, guys, in doubt, come on. Give us the news. And then just before I got on the plane, it was like, it's been announced, Davey from Heart and Hand put that it was confirmed and he'd been fired, mate. And oh my God, not before time. So it was celebration time last night, celebration time today. It had to come to an end, Gary. It'll be good to get some opinions out of you tonight, mate, just me and you. But no, it had to come to an end. The football was absolutely dire. We couldn't defend. Midfield was terrible. Again, against Falkirk. Nobody was surprised that it finished 1-1 yesterday. I was laughing, mate, because I actually got on the plane flying from Abu Dhabi yesterday, and it was 70 minutes, and I still had 5G, and Rangers were winning 1-0, and Celtic were getting beat 2-1, and it was just a 50-minute flight. And I said to myself, I bet you any money by the time I land, it's 1-1 Rangers and Celtic win 3-2. And I landed, and as soon as I got signal again, it was 1-1 and 3-2. I was like, for God's sake, man. But listen, that guy should never buy a drink ever again. I hope the Rangers fans and the Falkirk team take this guy to Thursday nights at Ibrox the next time they go to the matches, and the guy that scored the deflected goal, Cartwright or something like that, he should get a statue for being the man that finally put Russell Martin out of his misery, mate. It had to happen, and there's lots to get through, mate.
Yeah, so we will talk a wee bit about the Falkirk game. It's probably been superseded by events that's happened after it. I think after only one domestic win in 7 league games, 2 wins in 8 European games, and a couple of Premier Sports Cup wins, he leaves us languishing 8th in the table with a battered reputation for the club and also for himself. He probably, I don't think Andy, even at our wildest moments, thought it was going to be as bad as this. And you got Ricky, were you going to say something?
No, sorry, mate. No, I mean, listen, I remember, the biggest disappointment for me with Russell Martin was the Dundee match at Ibrox after Victoria Pilsen, because I thought that night was the only one match, I would say, out of his whole tenure where we actually looked brilliant. Ant-Man's debut, we played really well. We won, I think, was it 2-0 or 3-0? 3-0 we won that night. 3-0. You know, a lot of players were like looking like they were starting to gel. And then we rolled up to play Dundee on the Saturday thinking, right, brilliant, here we go. I was expecting 4-5-0. And oh my God, we were lucky to get a last-minute equaliser to get a point against Dundee. And that's when it was like, I don't know if this is ever going to work. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And what the worst thing about Russell Martin was, and I hope that whoever comes in as the new manager, I hope that the Thompson, the media guy, gets a hold of him and go, look, do not promise the Rangers fans anything, because it'll come back and bite you in the arse. Just say that you're going to see it on the park, because that was Clement that came out with all his tenets, how great everything was going to be, and then Russell Martin was even worse. This is the way my team is going to be, and he was just telling us absolute lies, mate. And then every performance was getting worse and worse. And the fact that he was coming up with all these excuses, he had a big round circle of excuses that he'd used at all his old clubs, mate. And then he kept on, he took zero responsibility. And I saw someone saying today, even now, tonight, Russell Martin is sitting in his house thinking that it's everyone else's fault and the Rangers fans didn't like me from day one and my football's still the best football in the world, and he's still sitting there taking zero responsibility. And for any human being, mate, you've got to take responsibility when things are going wrong. And fans would have respected him a little bit more, but he leaves Ibrox with zero respect, our worst ever manager. Thank God he's been fired, and I hope we don't put pictures of him on the wall. I would just put either a picture of a cabbage or just a big black picture, because we can't have him anywhere in the training ground or anything like that. It's been an absolute disaster, and the Americans have to get the next appointment right, mate.
I think when you go back 123 days or so, it was Ricky, that when he was announced at 8 o'clock in the morning, if I remember rightly, and it wasn't met with universal acclaim. I think it's fair to say there's probably a lot of apathy about the appointment. People had kind of got the view they wanted the Ancelotti's boy as opposed to any real managerial expertise, but it was more the fact it was a new name, it was a whole bright new era, the bright new dawn of the Rangers' new owners, and he came into quite a muted reception. I can hear you fine, Ricky. I don't really know what the issue is. I think hopefully other people can hear you fine, but he came into quite a muted reception. But I suppose, if I'm honest, the first couple of weeks when there was no football being played, he started to dig into his podcast. He done with Gary Lineker. He talked on Sky, and he actually he sounded like he started to buy into it a little bit. Maybe, obviously, a couple of months later, we would now realise that was a false dawn. But at the time, it did seem as though there was a plan, and obviously, Thelwell, etc., talked about the style, the philosophy, all the sort of stuff that would go with it. But none of that materialised.
Yeah, that's it, Gary. I mean, he could talk a good game. He talked brilliant. I mean, 7 interviews, which was absolutely ridiculous to get the job. So remember, when he came in his first press conference, he talked about he knew all the faults that were in the team, and he was going to fix everything that was wrong. The fan media spoke to him off camera and everything like that, and they were giving him some pointers about, look, this is the problem. There's about the mentality, the spine, all the things, and he was like, yeah, I know. I've seen the last games, and I know how I'm going to fix it and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, Gary, I mean, on paper it sounds fantastic. We spoke about when we come on air. Anyone can say anything that sounds absolutely fantastic. You've got to see it in reality. When he first came in and he was like the Panathinaikos game, it wasn't perfect, but you could sort of see glimpses when they went down to 10 men of what he was trying to do in the second half. And we got a good victory, and you were thinking, okay, that's something to build on of it. You can see like good passing moves here. Okay, some of it was a bit mental with the fullbacks and stuff like that. But then quickly when we started playing Motherwell, and then, as people were praising him at the time, but when we got that 1-1 draw against Motherwell and he totally went for the players and he just like crucified them and stuff like that, it was like it was great for the fans, because like we're like, yeah, that's what we want to hear. But for him in the dressing room, you were thinking to yourself, it's a bit early to be swinging the baseball bat at the players' heads like that after the first league match, Gary. And then he started changing everything. Like he started changing the way that he was playing, and he was changing how the defence was set up, and he was bringing players in that, like Barron was coming in, and then Cameron came in, who wasn't involved in pre-season. So you could see he was absolutely struggling from day one, and it just never got better. And it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. But the worst thing about all of this, Gary, and it was the same with Comont as well, is when you get to the end and that feeling that you feel disconnected from your club. You spoke about it. I mean, you spend 2,000-3,000, you take your daughter, you're spending a fortune on tickets and that to go to matches. And when you lose that feeling of actually being excited for matches, and it feels like such a slog, it felt worse with Martin than it did with Comont, and it felt bad enough at the end of Comont's reign when all that emotion, and it's beyond apathy. You just feel nothing, you know. And whoever comes in has to be connected and keep us connected to the club. That's the most important thing for me, Gary, because when you lose all that and you've got no feelings, I've never seen Rangers fans as angry as they were with Russell Martin. So even as a human level, you had to put him out of his misery, mate. But it was quite crazy how it unfolded, and we don't want to see that ever again, to be honest. I thought it was crazy the way that it ended and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, do you know, it was strange because yesterday's game, and I think we had a joke on Friday night about hopefully Scott Arfield scores the winner and so on, 6-0 to Falkirk, all that sort of stuff. But yesterday's game came and it was like the last 3 or 4 games when you're watching it because it's the game's on, not because you're interested, not because you're even enjoying it, not because you're even wanting to. You don't have that adrenaline, don't have that buzz. It's like watching an English Premiership game. You're not that bothered. So certainly when I was watching it, my dad was down, my daughter was down. I didn't care when they scored. I didn't really care when we scored. You know, the game was passing you by. And that's the worst feeling. I mean, there was a lot of angry Rangers fans, as you say, lots of angry people on X and outside the buses and all that sort of stuff. But to me, the bigger thing was so many people had lost heart, 10, 15,000 people not turning up at games. That was a bigger concern to me. I can understand people being angry, but I can't really live with people no longer bothering. That's always the worst feeling.
Yeah, and what is the most annoying thing as well, though, Gary, is we're playing fault. We've not even had difficult games in Scotland this year. I mean, Hearts beat us, and we had no bad performance to beat Hibs in the cup, but it was sort of like a 50-50 match. But you're turning up against these teams, Livingston the same, Falkirk the same. Their players look like they want it more than the Rangers players. They're more up for it. I mean, Falkirk yesterday, we were 1-0 up at half-time, but that was totally against the run of play. We put together one good move in the first half, and the players just look absolutely petrified. They're standing in positions, they're scared to, they're so confused on the park, but we're so wide open. Falkirk, just kept getting, the gaps between our fullbacks and our defence. How many times did Falkirk get into crossing positions? And if they had a good finisher, they could have been 2-3-1 up at half time, and that was happening every single match. And we were playing teams that looked like they were the ones that had spent, every team we played looked like they'd spent 30 million, and Rangers were the ones that were turning up paying people 500, 600 pound a week, mate. And the worst thing for me as well with Russell Martin, and what annoys me the most, is that he's ruined our Thursday nights as well. I tell you what, we took that European since Gerrard Thursday night so much for granted. We just expected, even under Coman, he was probably one of the best managers for us in Europe. You were beating Malmo, great performance against Nice. Egerman was superb, and oh my God, you turn up this season, we've played 2 poor teams in Europe, and that's 5 games in a row we've been beating Europe, and some really bad defeats in that, Gary. And as I said, mate, that just could not continue. So now whoever comes in, the manager, he's got a mountain to climb, because we've got some tough games in the Europa League. But we need to get back to winning on a Thursday night and get that excitement back. Ibrox full. Hopefully for the Dundee United game, it'll be full again, mate, and get behind the players.
Yeah. We've all talked about potential new manager in a little while, I think. I was having a look before I came on, so I looked at the last 3 Rangers managers' first 7 games, just out of curiosity. I think they all did last the first 7 games, so Clement, Beale and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. So Van Bronckhorst had 16 points out of 21, Beale had 12 points out of 21, Clement 16 points out of 21, and obviously over that period, Martin achieved 8 points out of 21. I think if that doesn't sum up just how bad it had been, nothing will, to have taken 8 points from 7 games, whereas Giovanni, Clement and Beale were hounded out as well, and they had to leave, but their points total was significantly better than he'd ever got to. So it's hard to judge whether he was just so bad, whether the players were so bad, whether the recruitment's so bad, whether the structure, all the stuff that goes with it, and we probably won't know until a new manager comes in and actually either gets a tune at these players, or it turns out they're not very good anyway to start with. I think if you look at, go back to the games, as you say, Ricky, we started the season with the game against Panathinaikos. It was all right. You could see a style. You could see what they're trying to do. Aarons and Taver kind of inverted. They were trying to create overloads in there. Similar to the first half of the Motherwell game before they went haywire in the second half. But you could see a style. And in certain games you could see a style, but after a couple of games, as you say, they just ripped it up and decided I don't know what happened. I mean, for a philosophy-based manager who prides himself on a style of play, a philosophy, a proper structure, etc., I thought, but by the end there was no style whatsoever. It was just literally even the passing, the 50 passes across the back, it stopped.
Yeah, he was maybe listening to the players, mate. Maybe like the players in training were telling him, like, this is not working. Can we try this? Can we do that? And he started to panic and listen to the players too much, which a manager should never do. That's why if you get like a Steven Gerrard or a McInnes or one of them come in, they will not listen to the players whatsoever. It'll be for day one. It'll be, this is what we're going to do. Buy into the or get on the train or get to. So that'll be interesting. That's what the sort of person you see. But you could tell with Martin in the press conferences that he's a weak, like he's got like a weak mentality, because like it was all right fan media asking him these questions and stuff like that, and that's great, right? But I watched some old press conferences. Like imagine them asking their questions to Walter Smith or Alex Ferguson or like some of these managers. Like what would have happened to them? And that's not just, I'm not on about just fan media, because I'm on about journalists in general, you know. I think some of the journalists, I've heard some podcasts today, and they're like, oh, we feel sorry for Martin, the way that he was treated and everything. You're thinking, for God's sake, guys, man, it's unbelievable. But so for me, you could see in press conferences that he was quite weak, so maybe the players started to get through him and he was started to listen, okay, do this, do that, and that should never ever be the case. I don't think I think you could tell his ego's quite fragile just by the coaches that he had. Like he had that Matt Gills that like is his number two, and that's fair enough. Your bestie should be your number two, someone that you bounce ideas off with and you trust and stuff like that. But to only bring in one other coach and a guy that was like ridiculed at Carlisle and clubs like that and not have any other help, to me was just absolutely bizarre and strange. It just shows that he didn't want to be questioned and he didn't want people going, like say you had even a Kevin Thompson or a Neil McCann or somebody like that in the background that was saying to him, Russell, this is not going to work, mate. You're playing against like a Falkirk that are going to do this, or you're playing against that. He probably didn't want that, and he just wanted everything to be his way. And he was, I mean, even like I saw him still claiming that he just needs time and he was going to get it right. You know, he was even he sat down with Felwell and Stewart and the Americans when they were over for the European game and told them that he was still going to win the league. And man, that's the sort of like craziness. I think that's probably when they were starting to look at each other and go, maybe we've hired a bit of a madman here, you know, maybe the stuff that he's been feeding us is no right. So we need someone that's straight talking that comes in next but actually delivers what they're saying, Gary. For no more, I can't handle any more bullshitters in that Rangers dugout, mate. It's just been too much.
I think I was just picked up a point from JD there. Nothing wrong with sympathy for the man, and I've no filter about his position. I think for me, I mean, you can still empathise with somebody, because I think come the end, you could see he was struggling badly. Now you talk about mentality. His press conferences were all over the place. He looked like a beaten man at times, and he'd try and spring up again and be quite aggressive. Then he would go back down. So I think it certainly got to him, whatever happened, and maybe that's part of the reason he abandoned his tactics and his beliefs and all the sort of stuff that went with it. And I think there's that argument that the shirt or the brown brogues and the club suit is too heavy for some people, and sadly for it looked quite early on that was the case for him. Rightly or wrongly, you know, he might be the best coach. I think we said on Friday, he might be the best coach. He might know how to be educated in coaching, but if you can't deal with the pressure, deal with leadership, deal with the people, it doesn't matter how much you know about the intricacies of wee guys about a football pitch. It's about you.
I feel sorry for us, mate. I feel sorry for Russell Martin. I feel sorry for us for that 100 and whatever many days we had to put up with him and the nonsense that he was feeding us. I don't feel sorry for liars, mate. People that sit in press conferences and tell you that you're going to see players that run the best, press the best, do this the best, everything's going to be the best, and then he puts a team like that on the park for me. And I mean, listen, this is all professional. We're speaking about a professional here, a professional manager this is his job remit to do this job. I'm not speaking about him as a person or any of that nonsense. I've heard people say he's a good guy and everything, but we're speaking about him purely as a football manager. He promised us stuff that he was going to do and then delivered the complete opposite on the park, mate. So for me, us fans, we were completely disconnected from our football club and stuff like that. So I don't have any. I feel you don't want any human being to go through all the stuff, but it's been horrible for everyone. It's been horrible for a guy like yourself who takes his daughter to the matches and enjoys the match day experience and stuff like that. Completely ruined for you. You can't even have your family over watching the games. That's all been completely ruined. So, listen, it's in the past now, Gary. I just hope that I really hope that there's big concerns about the people that are picking the next manager as well, mate. But I just hope that it's all in the past now, and we can finally. We've went through that many managers. Surely we'll have to get one right eventually. Even you think just by the sheer pot luck, we'll be able to get one manager that's going to actually do what he says he's going to do and deliver a bit of success. And just even since Gerrard, every single manager's just basically took us on a trajectory up and then just right down. Like, we need a manager that just takes us on a proper journey, takes us on a trajectory that you can always, like Gerrard did when he first came in. It took 3 years. That's what we need to see, where the club, just to get back to that, because I think Gerrard did have something going, and I think we would have won 56. But since then, the managers that were brought in, Gary, like Van Bronckhorst, I know people keep saying, like, okay, he should have been given more time and stuff like that, but the football was turgid at the end. Michael Beale was an absolute disaster. Who was after Beale again? Clement was the same again. Then he started off brilliant, and then he spoke really well, and then he completely changed. And then Russell Martin, the worst of the lot, mate. So they've got to find the right candidate, and hopefully this time they get the right man.
Yeah, so obviously, I suppose at the start of what he did, as you say, the Motherwell game, he came out and lambasted what was soon to be said Tav and Raskin, alienated some of probably the more popular players within the squad, and certainly within some of the fan base in Raskin's case. I suppose, how big an impact do you think the relationship with players, from the outside looking at it, had on how successful he's been?
I think he confused them a lot, Gary, and I think you could see that. I think the players wanted to buy into it at the start, as you always do with a new manager. I think they probably enjoyed pre-season, they enjoyed the training, they enjoyed getting absolutely beasted, getting them really fit, and he did get them really fit. And listen, he's feeding the players with the same stuff that he was feeding us. So the players probably got excited, right? Well, I'm going to build a team. This is the way we're going to play. You're going to press brilliant. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And the players, if I'm hearing that, I mean, I remember Tav getting interviewed. It was either pre-season or before we played Motherwell, and he says, "Oh, look, so, excuse me, this is going to be totally different. But it might take a bit of time, but it's going to be brilliant when it works." And the players were speaking positive about it. But then again, Gary, they go out on the park and then we're getting out. Like Motherwell played Martin football better than Martin's Rangers played football, and have done with inferior players since the start of the season. So why have they been able to do it and implement it? And I mean, that was a crazy, the goal they conceded against Celtic. But they're actually doing it and seem to be making it work a lot better than we were able to do. So I think after a while he's totally, like, you're asking John Souttar to be Pirlo in defence, and like the midfield are not allowed to move, so they're standing in position waiting for Pirlo Souttar to play the ball through, like tiny little gaps, which is just never going to happen. The wingers are standing waiting because they're the next. So I just think it was all so confusing for the players. And and then when he starts changing and ripping it up and going, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, the players can see through all that and think to themselves, well, what's going on here? I thought we were going to be playing this way. Now you're asking us to play this way. So it's going to be an interesting few months now for the players, Gary, because I think they've got away with a lot, and we've been Russell Martin has taken a lot of heat from the players. Fans have started to turn a little bit, and I have heard fans asking questions: is this player any good? Have we replaced Czerny? Is Dessers better than Miovski? And that's fair enough. Fans can ask the questions 100% because we're not seeing it on the park. But I think the next few months, probably with the next manager, it's probably, if it does not go well to start with, it'll probably be worse for the players now than it will be for the new manager. So because fans will be starting to see, well, okay, we thought Russell Martin was the problem, and the last thing that we want to see and happen is he leaves and then the players are still putting on these performances, mate, and then it's like, Jesus, maybe it wasn't the Martin. So that's what we don't want to see over the next few months. But that's going to be telling with these new players, because on paper, I mean, you know, a lot of people have seen these players play in England, and they played totally different to the way they were playing in this Rangers team. So it'll be very interesting in the next few months.
What do you think? And so, just I suppose before we talk about other candidates, etc., what do you think was the reason that it failed then? Right. So I suppose you always try and pinpoint things. If you look at Clement, you could argue that he had to downsize and he was doing the job of 10 men and all the stuff that goes with it. If you look at Van Bronckhorst, the Champions League debacle whereby they were getting battered with Leon King in centre defence and the confidence went and stuff like that. Even Beale, to an extent, you could argue it was the signings or Sam Lammers and people like that. It's hard to pinpoint Martin's what the thing was. You know, there's usually something you can pin on it, but I'm not quite sure whether it's Martin. So you could argue, is it the players? Was it the style? Was it his inability to coach them? Was it the Rangers fans not being ready for it, not wanting them? What do you think?
I think you could write 20 things down, Gary. I mean, I think they tried to change too many things too fast. They tried to be too clever. So I think that I was very, very disappointed with Farewell and Purdy. With I like that Farewell did an interview, and I like that the Americans made a statement today, right? Because you see the other side, they're getting nothing from their board and nothing from their CEO, nothing. So I actually, even though I might not like what's in the statement and I might not like what Farewell says, I do like when they actually speak. And I didn't like what he said though about Purdy. We only had we only knew players in England and stuff like that. I thought to myself, guys, you've been brought in. I thought we were getting this amazing American database about all these. You think nowadays you would have information about players all over Europe? Like, I mean, Koppen managed to find this Igaman Yefte playing in the Cypriot League, Igaman from Morocco, like little like gems like that. Okay, he struggled when he paid money for your Baz Ramis and players like that. So I was very disappointed when I heard that. So the player trading, but I think like Patrick Stewart said, we'll have to build the plane as the plane is flying, man. And they put, as I said before, mate, they put the wrong size wings on and it crashed very, very fast. But I think they tried to change too many things at once. I think Boyd has said it pretty well. David Weir said it pretty well at the weekend. You can't use Rangers as a total project, like, and just say that it's a project and it's a work in progress and it's this and it's that. Walter Smith knew that more than anyone. You've got to sign players. You can sign a percentage of projects for the future, but you need to sign players that know the league, that are here and now, that can get you results and get you competing at least at the top of the league, and then you can sprinkle on the gems. And I think they underestimated Scottish football. I think they know that now. The Americans know that. Too many loanees, 100%. You know, I mean, the left back situation sums it up absolutely perfect. They knew they were getting rid of Fraser. They knew they were getting rid of Yefte. They knew they were getting rid of Yilmaz. And we brought in a 19-year-old kid on loan from Bournemouth. I mean, is that positive from the director of football and Dan Purdy? And then you look at our defence. We've not built a defence, Gary. I think we've got 3 loan players in defence.
Four loan players, and $3.5 million signed. Doesn't get in the squad.
Suter is still like meant to be our main defender when he's playing in the wrong position and he's being asked to do things he can't do. You've got Max Aarons was brought in to replace Tavernier and he's been absolutely. He looks like a player that's not played football for 2 years. The same as like Cantwell in a way, you know, like he was very. And so I just think, and then you go into midfield, you know, Asgard was supposed to be. Asgard's played, I don't know how many games for us now, Gary. He's not even had one shot on target, mate. He's not done anything. He's playing in the number 10 position. We got rid of Haji. Baz Rami's on the bench. We got rid of other players that were playing in that position. Cantwell. And Asgard is playing in that position, and you don't even see him in the match. I know he wasn't playing against Falkirk, but it is none of it. There's a lot of it. Fernandez doesn't make sense. Yeah. Shermiti, the striker, did we need to spend 8 million? You could have had a front three of Shanklin, Sima, and Cherney, which would have got you results for here and now, and they know the league, and that would have been we know that works in Scotland, but no, they thought they knew better, and they brought in Shermiti. Ant-Man, I think, will come good in the end, and then you've got Gassama who flatters to deceive. For me, I know he scored some great goals and everything. So many problems, mate. You could go on about a whole podcast on its own with that.
And I think it probably will at some point. I think that's part of the challenge. I mean, no way is Emery defending Russell Martin. He had to go. He was failing miserably. But when you look at some of the stuff in terms of recruitment, I think, as you say, he brought in Fernandes for £3.5 million. Was it Cornelius, Magoma, Aarons, and Njiga? So four defenders, 4 lone defenders that are all there. Suitors out of contract this season. There was no real development of the defence. We brought in numerous midfielders. Mikey Moores obviously struggled, and they replaced Agaman and Dessers with Sharmiti and Miovski, and no disrespect to both. I think they're probably, whether they're upgraded or not, it's very debatable, it has to be said. So I think there is mitigating factors, not to defend Martin whatsoever. The signings at this moment in time, based on what we've seen of them, based on what they contributed, haven't worked out, other than maybe Gisama.
Yeah, it feels like we're back at Warburton, like when Warburton brought in all these players for the championship. I think Boyd was like beating that drum quite early on, like the first couple of games of the season, and he's probably been proved right in the end. Okay, you've got to give some of these. I mean, we keep hearing McCoy keeps going on about it as well, saying they look like little boys out there when they're playing in Europe. They just look like wee boys. Bruges just absolutely tore us a new one, and that was a team that was like a couple of levels above Rangers, and you could see that. And that's when your new signings completely struggled, especially when Aarons had his brain fart and got sent off. And so there's been many things. There's many things. But now these players, it's like they're going to get another new start and like redemption for them. Hopefully they get to see Rangers at its best, because it's been. I mean, listen. You've got to remember and I'm not blaming the fans for this, but it's probably been quite difficult the last few months playing under that atmosphere and the boos and because like the Victoria Pilsen was the last probably good, decent atmosphere, not brilliant, but decent atmosphere where it was like, oh, this is fun, this is a good play. And since then, it's just been absolute vitriol from the stands. So hopefully, I hope we get a new manager in soon, Gary. If we get any interim manager for the next 3 months or any crap like that, then I'll be absolutely raging. I think they've got to react fast. Now the Americans, we need. I think the season's still there for us, right? Hearts are going to have a moment where they drop points. Celtic are very capable of dropping 9 points. So I don't think we're going to win the league, but I think we can climb up the table. So in the Europa League, you've still got 6 matches to get maybe quite like the way that it is now. There's still a chance to get into that playoff if you get 2-3 wins in the competition. So there is enough there for a new manager to come in and take this forward. But I think we need to react fast. We don't want to be writing off the season and going, okay, we need 3-4 months to find the right guy, and we're going to bring in an interim. I don't want to see Barry Ferguson, and no offence to Barry Ferguson, I don't want to see any like we saw last season. They need to react fast. They need to get the new guy in fast, and we need to move forward and get our season back on track.
Yeah. Alan, I see your comment there. I'm going to come to that shortly, so just need to wait a little bit more. We'll find out who Ricky wants. He mentioned 5 on Friday. We'll come back to them shortly. You mentioned there, though, about an interim manager. You don't want an interim manager. Now, the last 2 or 3 times, I think, what people have said or suggested that bringing somebody in October, November hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for Ruben Almiron at Man United as well. The argument is. So what's changed this time that you think you need to get a permanent manager now? Because I think the last couple of years it's been the opposite opinion from most people.
Mate, it's still sunny here. It's not.
Not here, it's not.
The season's just started, for God's sake, man.
But from Bronkhurst and Beale and Clement, there must have been much the same time. Well, sorry, Bronkhurst and Beale.
No, that early. It wasn't that early. I don't think. No, Gary. I think the season's still there for us, mate. I still think. I think Celtic are awful, and they're the worst they've been. They're the worst they've been in years. Celtic. They're probably as bad now as they were during COVID season. And Hearts are doing really well. But I watched the derby on Saturday, and I actually enjoyed it. And I thought McInnes just total Walter Smith-esque performance, got the win. 3 points, and not one Hearts fan was worried about the way that they played, or, oh, we didn't play brilliant, we're so devastated, our football was crap, but we won 1-0. No, they were going absolutely nuts when that goal went in the 93rd minute. So for me, mate, the season's still there for us. I think there's still so much to play for. We're still in the League Cup. We've got a massive game coming up against Celtic. Right, I'm not saying who, but you imagine you bring in Steven Gerrard now, and he brings in Jermaine Defoe, Kevin Thompson, Steve Davis comes back, and you've got that buzz. Then our season can go like that. I mean, we've still got really good players in our squad. We've still got Raskin. Diamandi's been playing in the wrong position, but he could be good. You know, we've still got, I think, Jigga, there's stuff there with Cornelius is a decent player. We've got Butland in goals. Miovski and Shermiti, maybe if you can create chances for them, will score goals. So I think we do have the nucleus of a good squad. If you can get to January and add a number 6 and add some players that know the Scottish League, some experience, and add some physicality, I think the season's still there for us, mate. So that's why you would be absolutely crazy to say, okay, we're going to bring in a Barry Ferguson just now and just the season's a complete. Because listen, would you be happy over, like, say just for you bring in Barry Ferguson, McCann and that, because he would come back. You could tell the way he's been speaking in the media. Would you be happy to go back to that and then win a game, draw a game?
Very simply, no. I mean, we were talking earlier on, Barry Ferguson, for all the fact he's a Rangers legend, a player, he was pretty poor as a manager in that 3-month spell. People forget that because he shouts a lot, and people like Neil McCann and all the stuff that went with it. Their actual results were pretty average, to say the least. So I think probably worse than Clement's over the same period, if you actually, and he was bad. No, I don't think he won Barry Ferguson. I don't actually think he won interim manager. I agree with you.
I don't want an interim manager. I want us to look forward, man. I still think like let's go through the statement today from the Americans that they put out, right?
Yeah.
They admit they screwed up, mate, and you've got to give them that, right? They're not, I know fans are going mental. I don't like Farewell. I think Farewell's on thin ice, and Patrick Stewart's reputation is in the absolute gutter with the Rangers fans, and it's got nothing to do with just appointing Russell Martin. I think there's so many things. I think people can see that he doesn't get our football club, and he didn't come with a great reputation for Man United to start with. So the fact that they're sticking up for they two is never going to do the Americans any favour. But you summed it up when you were speaking a couple of pods ago. They're not going to fire the CEO, the director of football, the manager. They're not going to fire all them at the same time. And then, like, okay, we've got to bring in all these pieces at the same time. It's just never going to happen. It might happen in the future. They might say, okay, this is no working. Maybe after 2 years, okay, Patrick Stewart, we might get rid of him and bring in another one. But it's not going to happen very fast at the same time as the manager. So I think the statement, at least they admitted that we screwed up here, guys. We completely screwed up. We took our eye off the ball. We thought it was going to be easier than it is. I can obviously see that. But they're still there and they're still putting money into the club. So let's hope we get it right with this manager appointment that they're going to bring in. What did you think of the statement?
So I think I said earlier, I thought it was quite clever, right? So if Marat and Kavanagh know the heat's on Thelwell and Stewart, so I think they want to come out and back him. So they come out and said, we'll take a lot of responsibility for this. We'll help lead the recruitment. We know what Rangers fans want, blah, blah, blah. I think it was done merely to maybe deflect a little bit from the rising grief that Thelwell and Stewart have been getting. And I suppose that the fear that people have that if they picked Russell Martin, who they're going to pick this time, can they be trusted? I think that's the challenge now. You either need to believe in the owners and hope they get it right, because they're not going to sack Stewart, they're not going to sack Thelwell, Thelwell's not going to sack his boy's not going to sack his auntie's not going to sack his pals, all the stuff that goes with it. They're going to be there for a while. So I think Kavanagh and Marat will take a bit of a lead role in terms of communication. Now, if they're clever enough, they'll take a lead role in terms of communication, get stuff out from them, that it's them that are more leading, responsible, and overseeing the decision of who they appoint, which is clever. And I think from a management point of view, that's the way they need to do it. I don't think it will necessarily appease everybody, because people think that Patrick Stewart, as you say, particularly doesn't care for Rangers, and they think Thelwell is just is the smallest contact book in the world that just picks people that he knows.
And I can tell you my experience of Americans as well, like especially ones that have got that much money and stuff like that, Gary, they will be chewing Felwell, and Stenson will be getting absolutely crucified in the background from Marat and Kavanagh. If people think that they're just going, okay, you got this one wrong, boys.
Try again.
No. They're billionaires, mate, for a reason, or Kavanagh's a billionaire for a reason. And Marat is he's trusted from the 49ers for a reason. They might come across as all smiley and happy on camera and stuff like that, mate, but they'll be saying to them,
Ruthless.
guys, oh, they'll be saying to them, like, what you guys told us after 7 interviews, Russell Martin was the guy for Rangers, so we've had to fire him after 130 days, so what the hell, make sure this doesn't happen again. But it'll be said, it'll be a lot worse than that, believe me. So we've got to trust that these guys eventually will get it right, so we'll see what happens with the next appointment. But I do appreciate they came out with a statement, as I said, because I like that people are talking. We're hearing from director of football. We're hearing from the Americans, and they screwed up. They've admitted they screwed up. So let's hope they get it right the next time.
No, I think they're communicating reasonably well this season in terms of all the stuff they've been bringing out. And I think if they've obviously come out and put the money where the mouth is. I suppose that leads us on to the next point. And there's been Ross, for one, has been talking about Gerrard, and others have been talking about other managers, but taking away the actual individual, Ricky, what type of manager do you think we need this time? So there's been a lot of talk about when Russell Martin came in, it was a style of football, it was a philosophy, it was all this sort of stuff. It was going to be the club culture going all the way forward. And then there's the talk around the Sean Dyche, the battling gruff, ready to win, or the very much leader type like Steven Gerrard. What do you think is essential, I suppose, that they pick a certain style of manager that'll appease the fans and also maybe bring back some credibility to them, or it's about picking the right person, which is maybe two different things, bizarrely?
Aye, well, he's got to eat steak and drink red wine and look good in a suit. That's to start with, mate, and wear brown shoes. That's no, it's got to be like I think Rangers fans get a hard time with this. You know, he's just got to win and he's just got to this and all that. I think we were willing to give Russell Martin time at the start when he gave us the sales pitch and that. So I think that it's harsh on the Rangers fans to just think that we need a Rangers man that's got to win and all that. We know we have to get to that point, but getting to that point is not as easy. If it was easy, Gary, then football would be boring, mate. You know, and football works in cycles. So for me, it's got to be a man that knows the club. Does win football matches, and I don't care about style and that, just win football matches. As I said, I watched the Edinburgh Derby Hearts on Saturday. They scored in the last minute. The game was terrible. Both teams were rubbish, but nobody cared at the end. So and how many games was it like under Walter Smith for us? And Gerrard as well, when we won 55. How many games did we win 1-0? That they will win, and you to win the league, you need a defence that doesn't ship so many goals as we do. But you've got to win maybe 10, 11 games 1-0, especially when you're in European football on a Thursday night. You're going to have games. We always are crap after the international break and stuff like that. So you're going to have games at Ibrox against Ross County where you've just got to win 1-0, hold out at the end, take the 3 points and then move on to the next match. So you need a manager that understands that. And Sean Dyche is a strange one and stuff like that. If we're going on about names, mate, I would love McInnes or Gerrard for me. I would love us to go for McInnes and make it like a 10-year project. And I think he'd have us winning trophies. I think he'd get a good amount of trophies in that 10 years. Proper Rangers man. Let him build the club.
So Ricky, I'm going to stop you. Right, I want to dig into this. Right? So McInnes or Gerrard, what is it about them that makes? Is it because they're proper Rangers men? Is it because McInnes doesn't win anything really particularly? I don't think he's won anything actually. Maybe he's our manager, but he's a proper Rangers man, Rangers fan, lives in Houston, as Scott tells us, and he's outside his house most days. Or Gerrard's obviously is a proper Rangers man now after 3 years there, and obviously winning the league. So, how essential do you think it has as a connection then to Rangers?
I think they're good. I think they've got that statesman like status about them. Gerrard demands respect. McInnes demands respect in a different way. You can't compare McInnes and Gerrard in a way, because Gerrard is Stephen Robinson again, 100%. I like Robinson, but speaking about Gerrard and McInnes, when Gerrard walks into our room, even on his social media, the guy just demands respect, man. Like, he put a post up today about his Liverpool shirt, and he had like 200,000 likes, and about 100,000 was from Rangers fans saying, come back, come back. But when he's a guy that can grab the club, he'll probably come into the training ground in Ibrox. When he came in, he couldn't believe the state of everything, and he got everything up to a certain standard. That's what you need, because that's how you win trophies, is bringing the percentages up. The training ground has to be top notch. The training has to be top notch. The players have to be fit. His coaching team has to be top notch behind him. Gerrard is not the best football manager in the world, but he knows his faults, and he can get a good team behind him, like he had with Michael Beale before, to be able to fill the gaps and be able to win trophies. By the way, Gerrard is the manager. After we won 55, we were 100% going to win 56. I don't know what goes on. I know Dave King was taking digs at...
if they hadn't lost against Malmo with 10 men, some would argue.
No. But that's a different argument. I think people use, for some reason, sticks to beat Gerrard, where he only won one trophy in 9. He didn't win all the cups. Like, Rangers have got no right to win every cup competition they enter. Gerrard won the league and stopped them winning 9 in a row, and gave us credibility back in Europe, and had us playing well. And if he comes back and wins the league again and has us playing well in Europa League, that'll do for me, mate, 100%. I don't give a shit about winning the Scottish Cup or winning the League Cup. Brilliant if we do, and we collect them along the way. But the thing is, so for me, he is the man, the way the club is just now, that I think he's a safe pair of hands and would do a fantastic job. And I think McInnes would do a fantastic job at Rangers as well. He's proven that at Ilka. I know it's just the start of the season before everyone goes, it's only 7 games, Jimmy Fallon. I'm only saying about... but
he's got a proven track record, a reasonable
someone
success.
says he won the League Cup with Aberdeen.
My apologies, I didn't realise that.
Get it up, yeah. No, but he's... listen, Walter Smith said Derek McInnes would manage Rangers one day. So if Walter Smith says that, then Jesus, who are we to argue with a great man? So I think the thing is with McInnes, I think that you could have a guy like that for 10 years, right? And like, he would be successful. You know, he would be successful if you backed him the right way and you didn't try and interfere too much. And that could be something that could give the club stability for a long time. I know that people go on about he knocked it back before and everything like that.
I've got 2 questions for you, Ricky, right? Let's move on. I want to pick up 2 questions, one about Gerrard, one about McInnes, right? So in terms of Gerrard, would you, if the only way he was coming back was with Michael Beale, would that be fine?
100%, mate, because Michael Beale's not coming back as a manager. As long as he wasn't allowed to speak, and he's never allowed to, he has to like go in a back entrance to the training ground. No, being serious, right? If you bring if you bring Steven Gerrard in as the manager, he brings in whoever he wants to be on his coaching team. You can't bring him in, and you can't bring him in and go, okay, you're not allowed to bring in Michael Beale. That's just absolutely crazy. Michael Beale was a coach under Gerrard. You're not bringing him back as a manager. You're bringing him back as a vital part of what Gerrard thinks can bring success to the football club. So what you're going to do, you're going to go, okay, you're not allowed to bring in Michael Beale, but you can bring in Neil Critchley. I mean, that would just be absolute madness. It's very, very important. And you've got to remember, Beale is a very, very, very good coach on the training ground. Every single player that he's ever coached says that, right? He was a rubbish manager, but he's a very good first-team coach, and that's what Gerrard needs. But the thing is with Beale though, is I don't know. I don't know if Gerrard would even put him in that position and stuff like that. I don't know if he's still got his house in Scotland.
Well, do you know, weirdly enough, my daughter works in the airport, and she texted me this morning and says Michael Beale's in the lounge where she works this morning. So yeah. I said, did you speak to him? So just a little bit. He was over there for 20 minutes before he was getting on a flight down somewhere.
He still lives in Scotland, I'm
So
sure.
he was leaving. He was coming from Glasgow. He was going away from Glasgow. So he must still have some link here. Yeah. see it then in terms, just picking up in Gerrard, there's a bit of a groundswell. Gerrard's odds on favourites. If you look at the bookies, there is a bit of a groundswell about how people would want him back, and he's got the Rangers identity. I see people here talk about bringing Defoe and Davis and every other ex-business, which I think is great. You know, I suppose my question starts to become, if it's not Gerrard, how accepted will the other options be?
No, it depends who it is. So I think McInnes would be accepted 100%, and that would be great to get him out of Hearts. I think most fans would back Dyche, but I think you would have a percentage that... The problem you have nowadays, Gary, is the percentage that don't want a manager are so wild on social media. You see it all the time, and they're so scathing, like they're so brutal the way they talk about a guy. And as soon as you get like a guy has a couple of bad results, then other fans start getting on board with that, and you start seeing I swear, right? Say you bring in a Dyche, right? Rangers will drop points, and some guy will want to be clever, and you'll see that round red thing with an arrow through his face, and then no, but well, after, because that's the way social media is now. You know, everyone wants to be famous on I told you, I was first, and then loads of people like start attacking the guy and stuff like that. So we've got to get away from that. So I think it depends who it is. I don't want to see any project managers. I don't know. I'll ask your opinion about this in a minute. Like, I see people going on about Danny Rowe from Sheffield Wednesday, people like that, Rose and stuff. I know Rose is a bit older, but I think that if you bring in a guy like that doesn't have the Rangers connection, I don't think the club needs that right now, because I think nobody will ever turn as much as it did against Russell Martin, because he was here as a player. But I just think, don't put someone in that position. The club doesn't need that. That manager doesn't need that. And I don't want the fan base. You need someone that the fan base, even if it goes wrong for the next sort of like, it goes right for 3 months and then bad for 2 months, the fans still stick with it. So that's very important for me. What do you think about that? Well, like project managers.
So there's a couple of things. I think you'd struggle to appoint a foreign manager. I'm sure that would be a challenge, or maybe too risky this time. I'm not sure. Somebody like Ancelotti now would be a good option, or that role, or somebody that Benitez I've seen up there, which is never going to happen. But a foreign manager, I think, may struggle to adapt again and wouldn't get the same time. And certainly not one that's not at a level whereby your Mourinho's, Benitez, and guys that have achieved things. Guys like Graham Potter, who a year ago Rangers fans would have begged for, wouldn't be wanted now because he's tarnished after his last 2 jobs. So people will look at that. Frank Lampard, who Rangers didn't want a year ago, fans didn't want a year ago, they'd be desperate for him to come now. So I think the challenge is that you need somebody that's got a bit of gravitas. You need somebody that's got leadership potential, which is a bit of a strange anomaly when actually it's a head coach we're supposedly wanting. And that goes against the whole manager principle. You want somebody like Gerrard, McInnes, I suppose somebody that could stand in front of it and command that instant respect from fans. Now, Dyche, to an extent, will probably get it because I think his personality comes across quite well. In the media interviews I've seen him do, he always kind of come quite gruff and quite straight to the point and direct and stuff like that. So he doesn't bullshit, I suppose, to use that term. So he might get it after a bit of time. I don't think he'd get it immediately, but you need somebody that's got that. Graham Potter is probably an outstanding manager, but his personality, that kind of mannerisms, I don't think that would sell right now. You need this proper somebody that can bring the crowd back with you again, and I think that's the challenge. You don't need to be the best coach in the world right now. You need to be somebody that can bring the crowd along and get the belief back in the crowd, get it in the players, get it around the club. Because I think we're the best world in the world, that if you were to bring in a really good manager that didn't have that personality, the fans' apathy would still remain, and it would soon dissipate again further, and it's back to square one. And I think that's the challenge. And it only really leaves a couple. It only really leaves somebody like Gerrard or McInnes. And if they're not the options, there's not enough a lot of others out there that I can see.
I think the apathy's still there because whoever comes in, Gary, it's like we're just so sick of the last sort of, 12 years, 15 years, whatever it is. We're just so sick of it. We want someone. Gerrard had the tanker turned around, and then somebody, as soon as he left, it got battleshipped again. So we need someone that can stay here for a long time and real get stability
I think
back.
Sean has put it right, need a figurehead. I think that's we need.
Sadly,
we need a figurehead more than a man coach.
Yeah, we need someone to stand, and we need someone to tell the fans that's got that, like a figurehead that can be in the dressing room and tell the fans to fuck up now and again. But we'll just say, fans, calm down a wee bit here. Come on, you know, like this is like,
believe in me.
And believe in me, and fans get behind it, you know. And like the good thing about Gerrard was when he was losing matches and all that, Muscat is a great shout as well. But again with Muscat, I think we've just ruined that man. So like twice he was almost getting the job, and then we said to him, no, we're giving it to Comont, we're giving it to Michael Beale. So I think he's at the point, he's like, sees Rangers on the phone and he's like, no. get, you know, he's a way to win another title in China and stuff like that. So I think Muscat does have that statesman, like he is a figurehead for the club. You know, he's got authority about him. He's won trophies and he can sit there but I think he's a guy that would probably need time as well. I don't think he plays quite an attractive style of football and wants the football to be nice and everything, which is great. And he knows that he'd need to win from day one from Rangers, but he's probably a guy that will come in, and what he'll do is he's trying to get that tippy-tappy football from, and I don't think he's got the squad just now to be able to do that. So if he was clever enough to come in and realise, okay, I just need to get results just now, let me get through to the summer and then let me bring in the players I want and change it. If he was clever enough to do that, Muscat would be a brilliant option. But the problem is, again, is if he comes in and he doesn't have that reputation of being a manager in Europe. There's a lot of things with Muscat where it's easy to get the machine gun out quite quick with him and go, oh, he only done it. You see it now with Ange. I mean, he's getting absolutely crucified in England in charge of Nottingham Forest. Oh, he was just in Scotland, he was in Australia, he was in China, he's the worst manager ever. How did Tottenham manage to win the Europa League? Blah, blah, blah. So that's the way. It's not just Rangers, by the way. It's other football clubs.
Football in general.
It's football in general because of social media. You don't get much time and you've got to. So that's my worry about Muscat. I think Gerrard and McInnes is like a good option just now. And I think Robinson would be, I know that might sound mental ahead of Muscat, but I just think he knows the league and he would get results just now. And then maybe Muscat's maybe one down the line. I don't know if he's a great idea right now with our situation, you know.
Do you think there's any chance McInnes would leave Hearts to take the Rangers job? I don't. I think McInnes is probably more principled than that. I think the fact he's only been there 3 months, I think he would say, you know what, I'm not leaving right now. It's not right.
Gary, if Walter Smith left Scotland to come and manage Rangers, and Derek McInnes is supposed to be this big Rangers man, he played for the club, he's supposed to love the club, and the club has never needed a Derek McInnes more in our history than we need him right now. So if he's stupid enough to be offered the Rangers job, and we're serious about, look, you're going to be offered it, we're trying to do a deal with Hearts, and he knocks it back, then his name's never mentioned in Rangers circles ever again. And that's no being, okay, I'm a man of principle, I'm staying at Hearts. Life doesn't work like that, Gary. Your best opportunities in life come at the worst times. And like I see that in my thing of life, you know, people having to move families to different countries, and like your kids hate you because they've got to give up friends. That's the way life is, mate. Sometimes your best opportunity comes, and that's the case with McInnes. If Rangers offer him the job, he's top of the league with Hearts, and he's probably got a good chance of even finishing second. I don't think they'll probably have enough in the tank, looking at the squad and the way they played on Saturday, to probably go and win it. But he's in a fantastic position. But Rangers is his club, and we need him. And so if he's a Rangers man and he knocks back Rangers in this situation, then he's no Rangers man. It's as simple as that. And because it's no being loyal to Hearts, mate. That's life and that's football. Opportunities come, you either accept or you knock it back. If you knock it back, you've never been a Rangers man.
And I think we're coming to the end of the pod. That's the best line of the day, probably the best line of the season there so far. That came out straight a fortune cookie, Ricky. Was it the best things happen that come at the worst times? That's it. I'll bear that in mind, people. That's very true, but it's very what's it, philosophical. I think that's the way to put that one. That's very true, and you're right. You know, it might be the case that he gets one more opportunity, and if he knocks it back, that's it.
That's it. He's done. The fans will never accept him. If the first time fans can accept that because the club was an absolute shit show, it was a mess. There was a lot of people that were saying to McInnes that, look, maybe this is not the right time. You're not going to last there. So that's fair enough. But now there's no excuses. He's got the back ends of the Americans. He's going to have a massive he's got more chance of winning the Scottish League with Rangers than he does with Hearts. Let's be honest there. Let's get that real. And he can build a legacy, man. He could be the manager at Rangers for 10 years, 100%. And he is a loyal guy. He proved that at Aberdeen. But Rangers is his club. If he comes there and he gets offered the job, then you could be the Rangers manager for 10 years, 100%, mate. So, and that would solve all our problems. But we will see. I still think it's probably going to be Gerrard, but let's see.
John, thanks for that. We need a longer pod, guys. An hour is enough. I'm hoping you're joking because it's a couple of hours later, so it's about 12 o'clock at night for Ricky, so we'll not be staying that much longer.
No, I tell you, I can't believe it's an hour, mate. I looked at the clock and I was like, an hour? Jesus, there's so much to talk about. You could do 2 hours, 3 hours. There is so many things to talk about with Rangers all the time, mate. It's been a mad week, that's for sure.
So we're going to finish, right?
I laugh at the comments, mate. Like, even you see the comments and people are like, "Oh, fuck Gerrard, don't want Gerrard. Oh, McInnes, no way, no, I don't want McInnes. It's Robinson. Robinson, are you crazy, man?" It is mental. Like, as that Rangers fan said to Patrick Stewart, that's not my effing job. That's your job. Find the Rangers manager.
I'm going to finish with making it your job, Ricky. So we named 5 managers now, and the 5 managers you had on Friday night, I think, were Gerrard, McInnes, Muscat, Dyche, and Robinson. That was your 5, right? So rank them 1 to 5.
No. I had Lampard. I had in there. Remember?
Right.
I didn't have Dyche.
Right. So Lampard, Gerrard, McInnes, Robinson. Who was the other again? Muscat. Rank them 1 to 5 from your list today.
I would probably start at the top.
I'll go 5 to 1. Go 5 to 1 then.
Oh, Gerrard, McInnes 1 and 2. So Gerrard 1, McInnes number 2. Lampard's never going to happen, number 3. Muscat number 4. And if all 4 of them say no, then for sure Stephen Robinson for a couple of years. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
But I would be happy. Listen, I would be happy with any of the names on that file. I don't want anyone else. If that was the 5 names and it was one of them, I would be happy whoever it is.
Yeah. So role you don't want, definitely, because of that project. It needs to be somebody that's got identity around the Scottish game, somebody that's been successful, or Rangers linked in some way. Robinson's a Rangers fan, Muscat was an ex-Rangers player, McInnes is as well, and Gerrard done all those things. Lampard's a Rangers fan, so that's your top 5 all get a Rangers connection, I think. From right.
I'm glad Cam's not on the pod because he wants to give it to Derico McInnes. So like the names he was coming up with, you're like, who the hell? Oh, he's the manager of Mines. He's got like a 70. You're like, Cam, for Christ's sake, man, forget about the names.
That's football manager wants to see who's good.
That's it, mate. Kids in these games and these football managers in FIFA, it's like they know all these fancy names, players. You're like, nah. Come on.
And it might be Thelwell's dad is head coach, Sable. Who knows at this rate. I'm not sure he's that good a coach. I think his dad's probably slightly better as far as I understand. Who knows? Do you know, the thing is that we hopefully will have a quick appointment. We have 10 days maybe to have somebody appointed before heading towards the game against Dundee United. On that basis, we'll probably come back on Friday. Hopefully there's been some news. If there's not, there'll be lots of speculation, lots of rumours, lots of statements and lots of opinions given over the course of the week. So normally an international break would take a Friday off, but I think probably given that there's a lot happening, we will come back on Friday and see where we're at and see, hopefully, ideally by a new manager, but if there's not, there'll be lots and lots to talk about who it could be and who it shouldn't be, and whether it's McInnes' faults, what's Gerrard's faults, what's Rolls' faults, whoever they may be, and a lot of random names maybe appear to nowhere. So thank you everybody for watching. It's a positive pod because Russell Martin's now away. we're looking forward again to a new manager, a new era, and hopefully a much longer, much more successful era than we've just had for the last 123 days. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can also get us on Spotify, and we will see you on Friday. Bye now.